Most people think moving on from a breakup means getting over your ex, right? Finding someone new, pretending it didn't hurt, acting like you're not bothered by it. But that's not healing at all. If anything, that's escaping, right? And it's the source and the sole reason why you're feeling stuck and unable to heal truly and fully to truly move on if that's the circumstance you're in. Real healing isn't about replacing someone else or, putting them behind you. It's really about reclaiming yourself, right? So let's talk about how to go about moving on truly, right? What that really looks like in a way that frees your mind and your heart towards your future. See, the first big problem most people have is their defining of what moving on actually means is off, right? See, they confuse things like, distraction for healing. I'm in the gym cranking it out and keep my mind off of it, and I feel better because I'm focusing on my workouts, or I'm burying myself in work, right? And I'm being productive and I'm making new business deals or leveling up in my career, and it makes you feel this sense of accomplishment, and your mind is focused on things that are not your pain points, so you think you've healed, right? But in reality, the wound is still there, needing you to address it. And as long as it goes unaddressed, it's going to come out of you in the wrong moment you don't want it to let you know it's still there, right? Or they'll confuse, a rebound relationship for readiness. Just because they're able to get back out there and start to pour into someone else, right? They think, oh, see, I'm prepared. I can move on. Look at this. I've already found someone else that's better. This is going to be great. I'm good, right? When they're really just deluding themselves. And in reality, those wounds they have are trying to be nurtured through this new person. And it's not that you're ready at all to be back out there yet, right? Or they do the infamous, confusing indifference for growth, because they're kind of like numbed out to the feelings in a sense of what happened in that past relationship. They think, oh, I've grown so much. I've evolved past it, right? Oh, I'm great now. Yeah, I'm better than ever. But in reality, you just suppressed emotions that needed your attention. And since you didn't know what to do with them, and you didn't take action to do something with them, to nurture them, your mind and body tried to help you by numbing them out inside of you. But they're not gone. They're still there. And when the right trigger point comes along, they're going to pop out, right? And remind you, hey, I still need your help. Whenever you have those confusing moments where maybe you shut down, have a nervous system overload, you get highly emotional in a random moment that doesn't make sense to you, it's because you have that indifference energy that's still lying dormant in you that's asking to be addressed. But what do they do on the surface when their friends or family ask them about how they are and all the things? They tell themselves a story, a lie, and they start telling it to other people. Oh, I'm fine. I'm great, or I've blocked them. I'm over it. I'm past it. I'm dating someone new. I've already moved on, right? I'm doing great now. But inside, they're still haunted, right? They're still replaying what happened, like a carousel in their mind of all the events and all the stuff, and wind up conversations start coming out of them when they're talking to someone that says, yeah, see, just like when I was with so-and-so, see, they did this, and they start doing references back to it that screams, I'm not over it, right? They're still triggered. But see, moving on is never actually about you forgetting them. Oh no, it's more about you remembering who you are without them. And when the idea of them comes across your mind, and when you do think of them, you're unwavered by it, like genuinely. There's no emotional attachment that is still tethered to them for you, right? Now, let me say this really clearly, right? It's a journey, right? If you love someone, you don't just flip a switch. So I'm not saying that you can't still have some level of a feeling towards that person. Maybe it's still in a raw space if it's really fresh. But the point is, after a significant amount of time has gone by and you start to heal and mend, and you grieve the loss of that relationship, right? The very thought or idea of your ex coming up, where there may be still some sense of a feeling you feel for that circumstance, it shouldn't be wavering to your state at that point. It shouldn't throw you into a negative place the way it once did, right? It shouldn't be debilitating to you. You shouldn't have to avoid and go around your ex. Not be able to see them on social media without it bringing up all these really painful memories you can't deal with or what have you, right? Not being able to mistakenly wind up in the same public space and now you got to turn and go the other direction because you can't really handle interaction with them around you, right? That's not being healed and moved on. That's avoidance. See, there's three real stages of moving on. And the first is whenever you truly release the fantasy, right? Meaning you let go of the hope you had of what it could have been, not just letting go of what it actually was. So that means you're not just mourning the person, you're mourning the potential as well. Because that's the sauce that keeps us stuck in holding on to everything that it could have been and all the things. Because we were so hopeful and looking forward to and excited about the possibility, right? And maybe how things started off in the beginning with that person. Maybe they were so great in the beginning because they were still, being that version of themselves that has all their best attributes and characteristics in the forefront until time passes and that's not who they're able to keep up being because they hadn't built themselves to be that, right? But you're still holding on to that little time capsule of space because it had so much of your hopes and your dreams inside of it, right? And so when that's the case, then now you wind up being in a position where you're trying to mourn letting go of the person, but it's so hard and almost impossible because you're not letting go of that dream that you were so close to having, right? So it's also releasing yourself from that dream, from that fantasy that never was. Focus more on clarifying why that wasn't real, why you need to let that go beyond just the actual reality you were experiencing. But hear me really clearly here. If you do not release the fantasy and let it go, then you'll continue holding on to a future that is already gone. The second stage of moving on is reclaiming your identity, right? Asking yourself, what part of me did I lose in that relationship? What did I compromise to keep the peace? What did I stop doing for me, right? Who were you before that relationship got a hold of you and you stopped feeling like you, right? Who is that person? What needs to be rebuilt or reintroduced or maybe reintroduced, but in a healthier way this time so it doesn't get easily tampered with again going forward. And the third biggest stage of moving on is redesigning your future. See, it's not really about getting back to who you were. Yes, you want to find the parts of yourself that you let go of, but it's really about deciding who you're going to be next in this new season of your life. Yes, you're bringing back some oldies but goodies parts of yourself that maybe you lost or let go of, but we have to figure out who's going to be the new me as a result of this. Kind of piggybacking off what I was just saying about, strengthening those parts of yourself that you let go of to make sure they don't get tampered with easily again, right? But we want to think of who's the new kick-ass version of me going to be, right? That's just well past what that past experience was. Because here's the truth, where I never want you to lose yourself in a relationship and I want you to reclaim all those parts of yourself back. But it was actually that version of you in the beginning of that relationship that got you in that relationship in the first place. So you don't want to go back to being just who that person was. You want to reclaim some of the beautiful elements and characteristics that maybe you lost that helped you be the vibrant version of yourself. But we got to build that person better. You got to expect more out of that new version of you. 2.0, right? So the main point is make it less about getting over them and more about getting back into true alignment for your life. Because chances are, if you wound up in a very unhealthy or toxic relationship experience, you weren't in alignment with yourself to begin with. Because if you were in alignment with what was really best for you, most serving to you, you would never have been drawn to and attracted to that individual. You would have never missed the red flags that would have saved you that heartbreak that you wind up getting, right? So focus more on what does alignment for me look like? What does the version of life look like for me that's best serving to me, meaning it's most helpful to me, it's positive, it's loving, it feeds my spirit, it builds me up. All five. It must be all five. If it's not all five, it doesn't serve you somewhere in the equation. And it's your job to poke holes in it and find where it does or does not serve you. So you can make sure whatever steps you're taking forward from here are nothing but steps that serve you towards your growth versus being a painful lesson that can serve you later. Now let's talk tools real fast to move on, right? I'm always about the tools. So we talked about the stages, but you need effective tools to help you work through the process. So first, let's talk about journaling your triggers, not just your feelings. See, a lot of people go and they do reflective work and figure out how do I really feel about this circumstance, and it helps me get over it by gaining clarity. Great, that's awesome. You should do that. You want to do that. But also journal down what your trigger points are so that you can start to understand what wounds this past relationship touched for you, what it brought out for you, so you can know what you're working with and what you need to go deal with. Second tool is learning to audit your internal dialogue, your internal story that you're telling yourself. Are you speaking to yourself like someone healing or someone that's defeated? Because look, no matter what I tell you, no matter what anyone tells you, no matter what any therapist, coach, counselor can try to help you with, it matters not if your narrative, the story you keep telling yourself, is one of victim, right? Is one of defeat, is one of being disempowered, right? If you just chuck yourself to the wind and you put the nail in your own coffin, then yeah, there's nothing to be done, because your mind and body are designed to give you the experience and seek out whatever is required to fit the reality you want to believe in, or at least that you're choosing to believe in, right? So really make sure that the internal story you have is one that serves you. Remember, it's helpful to you, it's positive for you, it's loving to you, feeds your spirit, builds you up, all five. And there's no negative story that can serve you, right? It's not helpful to you. It's not positive. It doesn't show love to you. It doesn't feed your spirit or life at all. It doesn't help you grow. It just keeps you pessimistic, right? Keeps you sad, keeps you depressed. It keeps you with, negative dialogue about your identity. It blocks you from being allowed to embrace that maybe you're extremely lovable and that you're not broken and all these different things, because that story you're telling yourself is one that tears you down instead of building you up. Next, create goals that are yours again, meaning new routines, new passions, new pursuits that don't evolve around anyone else but yourself. They're for you, by you, to be cultivated towards your advancement, right? To where you really get to dial back into self and really blossoming parts of yourself that you maybe haven't been focused on because you've been focusing on another partner or another person in your life. And you let a lot of that, self-centeredness, I'll say, go by the wayside. See, self-centeredness is not a bad thing within balance, like anything else, right? See, if you have someone that's just always self-centered, then they lack the ability to be empathetic and compassionate to what others are going through and understand someone else. But if you have someone that is, not self-centered enough to where at least they have an awareness of what's going on for their experience, their vessel, their journey, then it's easy to get off track and not realize where you let things go by the wayside that feed your spirit for you personally as an individual to keep your growth going. And the last and probably most important tool is you have to learn to sit with the difficult moments, right? The nights you miss them, the songs that hurt, the memories that hit hard, right? Don't avoid it, process it. Because what you can manage to feel fully, embrace it all, let it all live, is what you free from yourself. You can't free something from yourself you're not willing to face and address and embrace, right? You have to go through it. One of the most transformational things for me when I went through my journey after heartbreak and all those things was I would, I'm not saying you have to do it to this degree. I'm one of those, I have to get it done, right? I'm not going to let something weigh on me and sit with me any longer. It's just cringy for me to do that. I'll fight hell or high water to go and break through something that's going to keep me weighed down or in a space of feeling depressed and things like that, right? But in that space and time, I would get home from work every day and I would lock out for like an hour at least and just be in the space dealing with my emotions, my feelings. Just me processing it, feeling it all, and forcing myself to find answers as to how to release it from me. Come to, narrative conclusions that actually served me versus didn't serve me. Recognize what was real in some of those narratives and what was not. right? Reminding myself what I needed to do to nurture and take care of some of the parts of me that felt like they were voids now because that person wasn't there. All the things. And it wasn't fun. It sucked. I'm going to be honest with you, right? So I tell any person that comes to work with me as a client, this is not easy work, but it's because you get beautiful results on the other side. The gift is you leave toxicity behind. The gift is you don't have all the, uncertainty and the carousel of painful and unhealthy relationships. All of that stuff's gone once you do the work. So really learn to sit in those moments. You don't have to fear it. Yes, it doesn't feel good, but it's not supposed to. It's your body signal system to you. But it's letting you know it doesn't feel good to give you a message out of it of what you need to do about it. And the more you avoid that, is the more you avoid the answers you're seeking to actually move on. And I promise you, if you truly apply these tools and go through the stages and you do the work, what it actually starts to feel like when you're truly moving on is you no longer fantasize about the what if stuff, what it could have been. It's irrelevant to you now at this point. You don't go checking their post or their social media page, or you're not rereading old convos, right? Just living in that past anymore. You don't want revenge. You want release, right? And here's the biggest one. You feel peace even when you think of them. Thinking of them, you're completely unbothered, right? You have you still have a peaceful aura about you, even with them on your mind, right? Because you are truly disassociated from your ex and your past, right? You might have relativity to it because it was a time period in your life and your journey, but you have zero connection to your identity in that past any longer. And no, you're far from cold at that point. No, you're just clear, right? You're absolutely clear on where you are in life and your stage, and you're moved on at that point. You're not even moving on. You've moved on at that stage. If you are in a space of struggling to get past that painful breakup and you want to be on the other side of the coin where you're truly moved on and you need help with that, then email or DM me the word coaching and we will get to work. Only if you're truly ready to put that work in, because it's not easy work. But if you're not ready for one-on-one coaching, don't have the time, space, maybe even the resources for it, then at least email or DM me the word transformation so I can send you the link to my transformation course that helps you start to truly work on healing of self and just putting yourself in a healthier framework so you can get back to the version of yourself that you love most, and even better than that, to be better for that next person coming along. But either way, do something to get in the race. Let's get it.